So this car really doesn't need much work. What it really needs is maintenance. It doesn't need restoration, it needs maintenance. And the first thing that I want to do, just because I'm a mechanic and I'm anal like that, is I want to check out these brakes. I've been noticing some squeaking. Looking through the wheels, I could see that the rotors didn't look very straight. I just want to check out the pads. The other thing I want to check out is the brake fluid. As you can see right here, the brake fluid is actually at a good level. But when you look in there, that's pretty gross. It's pretty black. So I'm just going to go ahead and flush it today. Now this isn't a brake bleed, it's just going to be a brake flush. Since the brake system is in really good shape right now, all I'm going to do is just evacuate all the old fluid and replace it with new, and I'll show you how to do that. Alright, so I got all the wheels off. The Corvette is now floating. So let's check out the driver's side front. So this, I doubt you can tell on camera, but there's a little bit of lip. So these to me look like original rotors. And if you look at the pad wear, I mean, they're not totally down to the metal yet, but they could probably be replaced. Let's go around here to the back. These back ones feel a little bit better than the fronts. Again, somewhat decent pad left. Who knows how old they are? You probably can't see that inside one. A little string. I don't know where that came from. Looks like it goes the other side. Walking around to this side. Yeah, what's all that? Well, that can go away. Anyway, the pads on this one, a little less actually. And the rotor seems okay. I'm going to measure run out here in a little bit. And this one, that's even less than the other side. That rotor is kind of toasty too. So, looks like pads and rotors, or at least front rotors, are in the future for this car, but right now I'm focused on the fluid. So here is the book on this car. That's the method I'm going to use, the tube and the, I'm going to use a Coke bottle probably, but here's the sequence that you need to follow. Right rear, left rear, right front, left front. So that's the plan. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start with the right rear. I've already doused that bleeder with WD-40 to get it loose, and I've moved it just a little bit with a 10mm wrench. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it about another half a turn, and then I'm going to go push the pedal about 4 times all the way down. So the hope is all the fluid will come out. Since it's going up, they'll see, actually it's leaking out right now. You can see that there's going to be some left. So the problem that you're going to have, if I had 2 people, I would stay here and close this whenever the pedal was coming back up. But the problem that you're going to have is the bleeder is going to suck fluid back in. So that's the reason why I have the hose kind of in a vertical direction. So when it does suck back in, all it does is suck back in fluid. Let's position it like that. So that's the plan. Let's see if it works. That's actually not as dirty as I thought it was going to be. So we'll see. So if you look right there, that's pretty gross fluid. So we're not leaking out of there. That's good. I might open up that bleeder a little bit more, just so the flow is a little bit faster. Whether that will make a difference, who knows. That's pretty gross. The brakes on this car feel great, but again, the fluid's pretty nasty. So all I'm doing right here is I'm watching this fluid level. See, right now I could probably push it a couple more times, but I'm going ahead and adding new brake fluid as I go, and the goal is once I get new brake fluid out to that one, I can go ahead and move on to the rest. So I'm in about my 4th round. I wish you could see. You can kind of see in there. You see how it's clearer than it was? You can actually see the bottom of the master cylinder. So I did rounds of eight pushes on the pedal. Now my 4th one. So the master is getting to the point where most of the nasty fluid's gone. So it should be very soon that I get clear fluid out of the back brake. So looking at the fluid right now, you can see how much nicer and clearer that is. So the new fluid has gotten all the way down. And if you look right here, there's the old fluid. So it just shows how gross the fluid really was. So I got a lot on this rear wheel because I had to drain the master cylinder. So the next wheel should go a little bit faster. I think I did 8 pumps every time, but whenever you do yours, make sure you watch your master cylinder. You don't want to run that dry, because if you do, you're going to be bleeding it, and that's going to be another headache. So right now, I'm just replacing fluid. I'm not really bleeding air out because there was no air in the brakes. If there was, it's coming out now. So now I'm going to move on to the other side of the rear and do the exact same procedure. Alright, I want you guys to take a look at this fluid. You see how the right side's kind of really dark and the left side's not so dark? So when this first started, it was super duper dark, but now after only a few pumps, it has become clear. So it just shows how we got most of the nasty fluid out on the other side, and this side shouldn't take more than 1 or 2 times. Also, use one of these on your bleeder valves. If they're stuck, you don't want to strip them. Get a socket. These are all 10mm bleeders. So here's the front driver's side, and as you can see, it's a little bit darker than what was coming out of the back. So I think this is going to take a little bit more than one go. This is one go. So luckily for me, all this is going to cost me is about 2 bottles of brake fluid. It's about 14 bucks. It's better than paying a shop to do it. So I'm going to push on this pedal, show you guys an action shot. You can see the fluid coming out and the bubbles rising back up. That's why you need a long hose, or at least one pointed up, so the caliper doesn't suck back any air, just fluid. So yeah, that's pretty gross. So the bleeding is basically done. I want to show you guys, I hope this shows up on camera. Look how clear that fluid is. And there's dirt, yeah, there's dirt in the bottom of the reservoir, which the only way to get that clean is to take the reservoir off, which then means you have to bleed the master cylinder, and then you have to do the ABS pump and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to bother with it, but before you couldn't see down in there at all. Now you can see all the way to the bottom. So the stuff coming out of the calipers is a decent color. You have to remember my hose is kind of dirty, so it does look kind of dirty, but that's definitely cleaner than the original stuff that was coming out. So take a look at that. Can't even see through that. You should be able to see through brake fluid. It looks kind of like water, just a little thicker. Your last step is going to be close everything up and check everything for leaks. Now also you want to kind of gauge what your pedal feel is going to be like. So you saw before, when I was bleeding the brakes, the pedal would go all the way to the floor. So this is what that looks like. And now this is what it looks like when everything is together. I can barely get that down. Pedal show's maybe an inch, maybe. That's really pushing as hard as I can. So we know that the brake system's good. We know that we didn't put any air into the system. And next, all you gotta do is just go around, and I wiped down all the bleeders before I did that. Just check and make sure you have them all on tight, and we're good. So that is the quick and easy way to bleed the brakes. Now, remember, you want to be careful about that master cylinder. If you run it dry, you have to bleed the master, but you also have to, I believe, bleed the ABS unit, which is behind the seats. And the problem with that is, if you get to that point, you need a scanner to run the ABS to bleed it. I don't have one. I don't plan on buying a $400, $500 scanner just to bleed ABS. So that's the quick and easy way to bleed brakes by yourself. So according to the book, it says Do not refinish brake rotors when performing routine brake maintenance, such as replacing worn disc brake pads. Only replace them if you have a complaint of brake pulsation or you have a score that's deeper than 1.5 millimeters. Now, my rotors definitely don't have either of those things, so the only thing I have to do is check for minimum. If you look at this specification chart, you have rotor thickness and rotor thickness. You have it twice on here. So this set is for the 20.2 millimeter rotors, and then this one's for the 28.2 millimeter rotors. I believe at least my fronts are the 28. So let's go ahead and measure front and back and see where we're at. So for the front, we're at 27.16. And for the back, we're at 19.69. So the top is 26, so we're at 20. We're in between 26 and 28, so we're good. And the back one is we're in between 20 and 18.9, so we're good on all our rotors. Alright, we got the brake pads in. The only difference between this one and the 85 that I had is that these pads stick into the caliper with these cool little brackets. Other than that, it's all the same. You take out a pin here, the caliper slides up, and you replace the pads, and then back here in the back, you take this bolt out, the caliper flops forward, and you replace the pads. The only thing you have to do is you have to push the piston of the caliper back in order to get it to fit. I have a video on the 85 where I did this in depth, so go ahead and watch that one. That one's pretty good. So yeah, we have new pads all the way around. The rotors checked out, they're good. We have new brake fluid, and the brakes, according to me, are all done.